This, believe it or not, is one of the most famous creatures ever featured on the Brave Wilderness channel. It's one of the most discomforting bites I've taken throughout all of it. Bitten by a bloodworm. This episode of Becoming Brave is brought to you by Summit Adventure Fuel. Unlock your next adventure and get there. We are rolling and we are back. This is the Becoming Brave podcast. I'm your host, Mark Vins, joined again today by my fellow adventurers, Andrew and Asa. And we're here to talk about worms, and not just any worms. The bloodworm. The bloodiest of worms. No, but Andrew, this is exciting for you because this is your very first video shot and edited with the company.
Yeah, what a way to get started, you know? Yeah, I did not think I'd be shooting anything like this ever in my life. Getting a shot like that on the screen, that is quite the visual.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a blast from the past, but this is only a couple years back.
Yeah, I think it's our biggest video that we've produced as a unit to date. Yeah.
Hey, man, sometimes that, first shot magic
Oh, yeah.
can happen. But, we'll get into it later of like why this video performed so well. But before we do that, let's set the scene a little bit. Let's take a little walk down memory lane. Asa, I know you weren't on this production, but you've seen the video a couple times.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, Andrew, and can you sort of tell everybody what it was like on your first ever Brave Wilderness production? Where were you? What did it feel like?
Well, it was kind of unusual because, I'd watched the Brave Wilderness channel a lot, especially all the original goes with the bites and stings. And the setting is almost always so exotic and different. And, of course, like Central America, that's like, one of our proven...
Costa Rica.
Yeah, exactly. Costa Rica comes to mind.
Yeah.
And but to have such a strange piece of wildlife on the tidal flats of Maine for the first shoot was kind of unusual because it's kind of like, we're based here in New England, and it kind of feels like our backyard, but we can find something so bizarre. One of the only venomous worm species on the planet is just lurking around in the mud right in our backyard, basically.
Yeah, and it also turns out to be very good fishing bait.
Yes. That's kind of like their main use around here, no pun intended.
That's what there's an industry around bloodworms because of their use as fishing bait. And I believe they can be found on both the East and West Coast, but I don't know if the West Coast fisheries use them as much as bait. I've never looked into it. Have you?
I haven't. I know they're really popular to use for fishing bait around here, and they're also very popular for aquarium food too. I think there's a lot of I think they freeze them, and then you can shave them into little slivers and give them to your...
Gross.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
So, Andrew, first day
yeah.
with Brave Wilderness, what's going through your mind? Are you ready? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Do you understand the mission? Where are you at in your head?
Very excited. So I come from a fishing outdoor background in my media production, but so I'm used to the idea of finding the animal, but with Brave Wilderness, finding the animal is always just the first half. The second half is the bite or the sting, which is, I was nervous about that. I'm not going to lie. So It was kind of familiar, but then finding the animal, hooray. But then I was nervous for the bite. I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what kind of distress you would be in because, I'd never done this before. And yeah, it was eye-opening.
Yeah. And for me, this was probably my 900th video or something in that ballpark. So for me, this was very much routine, and our productions are pretty unceremonious in terms of how they start. It's very methodical in terms of the load in, gear up. But when we get going, it's everybody's got a camera, your batteries are charged, the cards are in.
We're in the mud. We're just going to start digging.
Let's go. Let's go. So with that, let's see the finding of the bloodworm. Here we go. Oh, wants to bite me. I'm actually going to get chomped. Ready? 1, 2, 3. He's biting me.
That's real.
Me good. No movie magic there.
He's latched.
That's definitely real.
He won't let go. Won't let go.
Great teaser, Andrew. Really nailed it.
Just gross.
Got one. Digging in the mud.
Oh, yeah. Woo, yeah. This, believe it or not, is one of the most famous creatures ever featured.
Gosh, really unceremonious to a T.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't even really set up how we were going to catch it. We just got right in there with a worm tine. That's what those forks are called. It's a tine, or some people call it a worm rake. I like tine.
Yeah.
And just started whacking away and finding worms. And boom, right as the episode begins, we get our first bloodworm.
On the Brave Wilderness channel. That's right. The original.
Did you ever dig for bloodworms as a kid, Andrew? Someone who grew up on
3 million views.
I can't say that I have.
In that original adventure, we did leave a few things on the table that are definitely worth
never
revisiting.
digging around in the tidal flats.
Namely, the venomous bite of this creature. Actually, did Coyote take a bite?
Did he?
Ow! Yay!
Baby bite.
He got me.
Little micro bite.
He got me. I felt it. It was a little pinch.
Let me see.
Is he flipping off the camera
Where'd he
there?
get you?
Right there. Right in the crux of my finger.
I think we can do better than just a pinch for one of the world's only venomous worms. In fact,
Little shade.
we
Little
learned
fun,
something
little
very
fun,
important about
friendly,
this creature
competitive
between the
shade.
last
It was
adventure
fun.
and
We
today
should point out
that's
that
going to help.
at that point in time, I don't think you guys knew how to really inflict the bite properly, right?
Right. So yeah, let's go back real quick. Look at that. Most people would say you filmed a bloodworm video as a team. You did 73, probably way higher at this point, million views. You're good. Don't need to revisit that. But I saw this video of a local worm digger who's now our friend, Wayne Bishko from Maine.
I got you, Wayne.
Wayne from Maine. And he had these really viral TikToks and short reels on Instagram where he actually was able to head the bloodworm. And I was like, oh, that's how we can do a bite test. Because before that, we were just waiting for the worm to bite, like what happened to Coyote. And that's not going to give you a real good bloodworm bite, at least not for the cameras when we want.
Right. Like you can see in the teaser that they fire their mouth part out, their proboscis. But it's very unpredictable. Like filming it is kind of no easy feat because like you put a bunch of bloodworms out and you're kind of just waiting for like which one's going to do it when. So you're kind of like playing a little guessing game, but the heading kind of gives us a little bit of control.
Yeah. And that was really like what sparked the idea of doing this review of the bloodworm bite again. That's the reason. We'll talk more about all that when we get into it, but that's why we decided to make bloodworm bite video or bloodworms part 2, depending on who you ask.
But before I go getting myself chomped for this new bloodworm experiment, we need to find a whole lot more worms than just this one. Let's keep digging. Bloodworms hunt for prey in the tidal mudflats of both the Atlantic and Pacific coasts of the United States and Canada. They have also earned the nickname sludge worm, since their habitat consists of thick mud and quicksand that can easily swallow your...
How hard is it to walk through that mud?
Impossible. So I wore waders that had like... They're called stocking foot waders, and they have a separate boot from the wader, so it's not like all one unit. And I've never had this happen anywhere but this kind of terrain. I would go to step in my waders, and the boot would just get left behind. And my wader, I would just be like in this like stocking foot wader, and the boot would just be left behind. And I would like with both hands like pull the boot out of the mud, just like you're doing right here, just to move around.
Right, and because you have to actually dig for the worms, it means you're staying in place. And of course, if you're filming with a camera, you have to really stay in place.
Yeah.
Really still. And the more still you are, the worse the sinking and the sucking of your boots becomes. Now, you will see professional worm diggers, and we learned this from Wayne. They kind of glide through the mud, almost like ice skating. And they're just always in motion and digging and moving. And it's almost like they're doing a worm dance.
Yeah, they kind of move like how they do in Dune, where they're like
Kind of
skimming on
feet
top.
along the surface. Yeah.
We did not know that.
No, we were just sinking and mucking around.
Yeah, so definitely word to the wise. If you ever go digging around in the mud in Maine, don't bring boots or shoes that you don't mind losing.
To find these slimy predators,
Or don't bring
worm
boots
diggers
or shoes
use special
you
rakes
don't
to
want
quickly
to
peel
lose, I should
back
say, 'cause
mud
you could lose
and
them.
reveal worms on the move that could be sold as prize fishing bait. And while they can be
You can
difficult
make a
to
lot
find,
of money
some of the
worm
best
digging,
worm
as it turns
diggers
out.
in Maine can collect
Oh,
up
there's
to
Anthony.
1,000 worms a day, with the largest ones growing up to 15 inches long.
Shout out to Anthony
After
and Wayne,
hours of
our friends
digging
in
and covered
Bloodworm
head to
digging
toe
community.
in mud and sweat, we filled a bucket and set the stage for one of the worst bites we've ever filmed. Welcome
cool.
to the
Good shot.
Bloodworm bite table. What I have in front of me here are 5 very large bloodworms. No,
Those are big.
These are not your granddad's night crawlers, folks. These are natural born
There it
killers.
is. Boom.
Armed with 4 venom.
So, for anyone who hasn't seen the Bloodworm video, where have you been? But if you haven't seen it, bloodworms are unique because they shoot out a mouth part called a proboscis, like Andrew just said, and then they have these 4 grappling hook fangs, and they use those fangs as they're rooting around through the mud for their prey, and they'll eat anything that they can get their jaws on. But once they catch something, they grapple it, and then they don't inject the venom like a snake or a scorpion. They sort of excrete it. So it's almost like a puke. It's like almost more like a fly would puke onto its food, and then it dissolves and digests it and then slurps it down. But it uses the proboscis as not only, we found this out later, not only a method of catching prey, which is what we wanted to show in this video, but they also use it to bore tunnels. It's a pretty incredible ability for a worm, and they are related to regular earthworms too. These aren't like alien worms to every sense of them. It's just that mouth part.
Oh yeah,
that's super
very
unique.
alien.
And then they use these parapodia here, these like little bristles to swim. I'm gonna scrub ahead a little bit here because we're gonna get to the bite. I want to talk a little bit about there. This I didn't know. I did not know if this was gonna work. I saw Wayne do it in the video, and I wasn't quite sure if I was going to be able to recreate what he had done, but this is me heading a bloodworm for the first time. So you can see the proboscis shoots out and then beep, just grab the head. It's the head of the worm. Grab the head, or the mouth, really.
It's not easy.
It's a lot harder than it looks. There were definitely some failed attempts that didn't make it on camera, but that actually is my first one. I had to get a better hold for the actual bite. Like you can see that that's a little bit different of a hold there. See how close I was to the mouth versus that one. It's like hanging way over, but got a good hold. There's the bite cam. Let's watch this.
Here we go. 1,
It
2,
wants to bite.
3. Ah!
It was shocking how much it was able to hold on, how strong
look at that.
those jaws are.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't take long for
he won't let go.
that thing to just sink right in.
Like, I didn't want to rip the worm in half. That's about as much pressure as I wanted to put on it because it felt like it was
he's
going
in.
to tear.
Oh, he's really on there, guys. I can't get him off. He's biting me. He's got me good.
So this was unusual in that you actually inflicted the bite to your finger. What did that feel like compared to the forearm?
I want to answer that. So the reason we went to the forearm, and this isn't good enough, is because the fangs could not actually penetrate through like my callous fingers. Because the skin on your fingers is super tough, and the fangs just aren't big enough. They can latch into it, but they can't penetrate into and inject the venom. Now, the venom is not injected; it's excreted. So they have to cause puncture wounds large enough to let the venom seep in. So that's what's going on.
They're long enough to break the skin of my finger. I wonder.
So like, that's where we went to this method where I was like, I quickly thought of like, okay, what's the thinnest skin that I can offer it, that's, near the camera's lens. And there are definitely some places you wouldn't want that are probably worse. So I was like, yeah, the skin on your wrist is really thin and, where you can see the veins and stuff. And that's why I decided to go with this spot.
2, 3. Oh yeah. Oh yep. See him tug on the skin. He's latched. He's latched. Yeah. I can't get him off.
So that's legit. And this is not the first bite. I had to get bitten how many times? At least 3 times for all these shots. So everything you're hearing and the performance is the original bite, but all of these tight shots, these are second bite takes. So this is one of those videos where we had to do multiple bites.
Yeah, this was definitely the worst of them. This one really, really got you.
You could see how much it's tugging against my skin right there. I will say this, their fangs, once they sense that they're gripping onto something, it's almost like when a crab pinches you, once it knows it has you, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
So the fangs don't like do a test bite. It's, oh, I can have some purchase here, and just locks in. Very much like a bear trap.
Yeah, he's got me. You see that?
It's
keep rolling,
there
keep
to
rolling.
stay
I'm
until
gonna
it
try
wants
to
to
pry
let
him
go,
off.
really.
He's really latched on. Come on, let go, let go. He won't let go. Won't let
Wrist
go.
is starting to
Gotta
hurt
get him
watching
off.
And you can see the blood there. There's a little bit of blood and almost like a hickey.
Yeah.
You see that? So the venom is from the worm's saliva, and it's all over my skin. And those puncture wounds are what's allowing the venom to be absorbed and causing the sting. And what was really remarkable about this is how much the swelling started right away. Like, look at that.
Yeah, you already got the goose egg going on.
Yep. And this is this is only the single bite. This is from the original take. Only these these videos are secondary takes, the tight, because we had to get in with what's called a probe lens, a Laowa probe lens. This shot here is from the performance.
Oh yeah. That was a full-on bloodworm bite. Boy, that burns. Gosh, you get that shot? Those fangs were all the way latched in.
Great sound effect there. That was a little sound design.
Oh man, yes. You can see that there wasn't much blood produced from the bite, but I've got blisters forming, and that's likely due to all the inflammation and swelling.
Swelling
I feel
fast.
it in the nervous system. My wrist is screaming right now. Super
Achy.
painful burning sensation. A lot like a wasp or a bee sting. Those fangs are like little talons, and it just grabbed right through the skin and did not.
So Andrew, what was it like filming this stuff? Were you surprised that a worm could even do this?
Oh, yeah. I was just looking at what I was doing through the viewfinder as you were like basically yelling in pain. I was like, this is unlike anything I've ever shot in my life. Like, it was strange. And you do have a high pain tolerance, so like I wasn't sure how much distress you were actually in or not.
It's your first shoot. So
Yeah,
you-
exactly. So it was, just a lot of firsts.
Was
a
it-
lot of things I never thought I'd shoot?
Was it surprising to you to see me say like we have to do another take of the bite? Were you expecting that?
No, I was not expecting that. I thought it was going to be one and done. And like, if you shoot wildlife, that's kind of like the nature of it. But like to get a do-over, I was like, this guy's nuts. This guy's a masochist.
What do you think, Asa? Were you? I mean, you're probably not aware watching this. That you're not supposed to be aware, but
Yeah, I mean, the first one I ever shot was Bulldog Ant.
Uh-huh.
That was a sting video.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that they were done multiple times until it was like actually the moment of the shoot. And then it happened. You were like, you get the sting? And I was like, maybe. I almost like blacked out during it. Like, it's a high stress moment the first time you do it, for sure.
totally.
Then we went back and did it like 5 more times.
Yeah, it's not typical with smaller animals where we need to use a macro that it's a one and done. That's sort of like I like the bigger bites and stings. For example, the tarantula was a one and done. That was nice.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to get it. Like, there's no way to get the really close shot without being in that A-cam shot and having like a body in front of you.
Yeah, you
So
basically just
it's like we just
blocking the
have
whole-
to do it
whole shot,
at least twice.
Yeah, you missed the whole thing. But it's a real bite too for the second one, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, it's all real. It's
not
it's you going through the pain.
There's no
a
fake
second
bites.
or third time. Yeah,
There's no fake bites.
Yeah, however bad you think it is, it's actually worse because it's happening again and again and again.
yeah, for multiple minutes probably.
I have to use that as a factor when I do the bite sting analysis because I know I've taken multiple bites or multiple stings on time. So I have to work that into my determination of the pain factor.
Right.
Now
Try to
that we've
log as
witnessed
much of it as possible as
what-
I am doing it. So this video has a bit of a twist. That's a great shot. Look at that gnarly alien looking thing. Crazy. Look at that. Look how big the fangs actually are too. Like once you can slow it down or see it in the still, you really can appreciate how big those bear claw looking teeth are.
Yeah, I mean, look at the bottom one too. How sharp it is. Like that is just a needle point.
Look at this shadow. That is gnarly.
Oh my gosh.
It did remind me of the worms from Dune.
Look at what they did to some normal prey from the wild.
So yeah, we show them eating sandworms. And this is their normal food. They'll go through and you'll see that digestive enzyme will just melt the other worms in half. So just go through, bite them in half, let them start to decompose, and then just clean them up. So because we were experimenting with formats, we wanted to test out this idea of doing, a bloodworm bath of bites. See if they would bite me just at will rather than the self-inflicted bite. And spoiler alert, they do bite, but not nearly as severe. You could tell that a lot of the bites through this. I'm scrubbing ahead. You can see him swim. That's kind of cool. These shots are super cool. But the bites that were happening were just little feeler bites. Their proboscis was shooting out, and it would touch, and I'd feel a little bit of the tooth clip in, and it's like an instant sting. It's almost like if you ever burned yourself, like that first little that feeling of like a burn. That's what you're dealing with. It's not a full envenomation like you just saw.
Oh, this is horrible.
The agony of this was just sticking your hands in a pile of bloodworms waiting to be bit. It's more anxiety than anything.
The grossness, too.
Definitely got nailed on the pinky on this side. And I got 2 nips between my fingers, here and here. Definitely got nipped 3 times. Wow.
Look at him squirm around in the water.
What a crazy day on the Brave Wilderness channel. Well, I don't know if we can definitively say that bloodworms like to hunt in packs, but I'll tell you this. They sure don't mind sharing a meal. But man, that original bite.
That was the doozy. Right there. Look at that.
Oh, God.
Look at this aftermath.
That's some serious carnage.
For anyone who has the opinion that bloodworm bites don't hurt, I can tell you are mistaken. They hurt very badly. And the reaction to the venom is different for everyone, but for me, very similar to a bee sting. And because I was like bitten in that sensitive area, the whole joint, my whole wrist became inflamed and ached with pain. I could barely sleep that night.
Oh, wow.
It was brutal, man.
That kind of sounds like the not sleeping through the night is like reminds me of the 60 seconds with the bullet ant. Like,
yeah.
So it seems like it's up there.
It's definitely up there. You can see I healed a few weeks later. I still had a couple little scabs. But does this predate? This predates the bite sting index.
Oh, yeah.
So you put all the worms back. That's a cool shot. Always show the animals being released. No animals were harmed in the making of this video. Even the worms.
That is a lot of good bait right there, though.
So
good fishing bait. But
what do we need to unpack about this? What are some behind the scenes moments that you remember? We're going to do the bite sting index. We got to do the BSI. Oh, wait, we did that.
Yep.
There's another video we did that.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll save that for another time. There is a BSI.
It ranks pretty darn high.
We can go online and look at it. I'm curious where it ranks. I've forgotten.
Yep.
Shall we pull it up?
Yeah, let's see that real quick. But while I'm doing that, Andrew, any other little behind the scenes tidbits that you remember from that one?
Like Asa said earlier, there's definitely a pressure in being the macro cam operator, and it being the first time I'd ever filmed anything like that, I was definitely feeling it, But yeah, and plus the surprise of you doing it again. You're like, oh, did you get it? And I was like, got it all right. And then be like, oh, let's do it again.
Not on here.
Huh.
Oh,
it's new. That's why.
Is it more?
I thought it was.
Go
on.
up.
no,
Was it just left off?
It's been omitted from the web page for some reason.
Is it on one of the more recent videos?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Mammoth Wasp
but
is
not
on there.
but not accompanied with the number on other videos.
Oh.
We'd have to go to the new cut of Bloodworms.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love Bloodworms on the Brave Wilderness channel.
Let's see.
Well, that's why we revisited it. Was 2.
We went back a third time. Let's take a look at that video.
This was my
There
first
it is.
time seeing bloodworms.
I'm about to enter the bite zone with the venomous bloodworm on 3. 1,
So this one we made with Wayne.
2.
There's Wayne.
Take those captions out.
I sure can.
Wow.
So there's Wayne. Wayne's the man. Thank you, Wayne. He is the bloodworm
Okay, yours
king.
is a lot bigger than mine.
He's the
Wayne.
worm
I'm
king
gonna
in
put
general,
my
showing
milky
us
red worm
his
down let's clean this off.
Milky ribbon worm.
Oh, those are
Yeah.
talk about a gnarly
Show you
worm,
guys.
dude.
Ugh.
Look at that.
I think they're more
That's
alien
it?
than
It's proboscis came out.
gross.
Look at that.
that
That's so cool.
shoots
Watch
out.
it. Watch it on your hand. It's gonna crawl all over.
Oh,
You
wow.
can just feel that
It is a
slimy,
different world out here in
snotty
the mud flat.
worm
All right, let's put this
appendage
milky
just
worm back.
going around your
We'll keep
finger.
looking for
It's just
bloodworms.
so gross.
This is definitely big worm country.
Okay, let's
Sit
look
here
at
and wait
PSI. I'm just curious
for this-
where we rated it because we did it again. Back for more.
Oh my gosh, I can feel the venom.
Jacob just squirmed off camera.
Oh, I can't get it off. Oh. Ah.
That was a better bite.
All right, I'm gonna put the worm back. Oh,
I let that happen not on my wrist though. It was like
oh
right in
my
the middle of
gosh.
my forearm.
Feels like 4 bee stings at
The
once.
wrist,
For comparison's sake, yeah.
the wrist definitely hurt worse in
The
terms of
bloodworms of
aftermath
Maine.
for sure. I can
And
tell
now
you
it's
that.
time to
That is a
I rate them
monster
at
bloodworm.
8.5 out of 10.
8.5 fair.
Now, pain is where the bloodworm truly earns its score on the BSI. Those hooked jaws bit me over and over again, allowing more and more super painful venom to enter my body. Each fang was painful on its own, so getting bitten by all 4 at once, wow, yeah, that hurt. And then the pain for the venom was red hot and caused immediate redness and swelling all around the bite zone, so no sign that it ever happened in the first place. By comparison, the aftermath of the fireworm sting lasted for months and racked up one of the worst aftermath scores on the BSI to date. The bloodworm, however, still gets a respectable 8 out of 10 for aftermath. Altogether, the bloodworm ranks at an 8.5 out of 10 on the Brave Wilderness Bite Sting Index,
It's pretty high.
8.5.
climbing high
We
on
might
the
have to go to the
all-time
new- we
rankings,
gotta-
but falling just short of
We
the
got to update the website. So just below the fireworm. That's pretty fair.
Yeah. Are those the only 2 venomous worms on the planet?
Never say never.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably other ones, but those are the major ones. Mm-hmm. In terms of the worms with fangs,
Don't sandworms have the 2 prong?
you mean the bobbit worm? They're venomous.
Well, yeah, the botworm, but
Sandworm?
Sandworm.
I think
They
those
bite-
are just pinch.
I think they
They
just
just pinch?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think they're venomous. There's definitely venom in bloodworms, without question.
Oh, yeah.
There's no
Yeah,
doubt
for
about
sure.
it. Very venomous. So are fireworms, and nice to see them ranked side by side. Let's make a note to update our website. Sorry, guys. Let's go to some comments. But before we go to comments, Asa, what do you think about this whole bloodworm thing?
I didn't know they...
Do you understand the magic? Like, do you understand like why so many people are fascinated by them? Does it make sense? as
Yeah.
an outsider.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of maxes out on the bizarre, the gross, the scary. Like, people already have a fascination with kind of the mystery of the ocean. And this is just another one of those things that really adds to it of like, oh, there's a huge venomous worm in the water that has 4 fangs and it can like launch out and grab onto you.
I personally
won't let go.
chalk it all up to camera technology as why the bloodworm has taken on a new fascination for the world. Because I mean, they've been fishing with bloodworms for hundreds of years, I would say, probably at least 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
Here's our video we just watched back, guys. 22 million views. And there's something I wanted to show you about that. Let me have to zoom in here. 22 million views. And I really chalk it up to that. That thumbnail, maybe one of the stickiest clickable thumbnails we've ever made. Andrew, you did a great job.
Oh, thank you. That
And-
was, yeah. I mean, it just, you can tell that it's about to, we really deliver on the promise of that.
Definitely. It definitely bit my finger just like that. And just, being able to get a shot of that worm in that pose, which that's a real photo. That's a real worm that we captured just like that. Now, does every bloodworm look that ferocious when it shoots out its proboscis? No, but that gets back to your point from earlier, Andrew, about how much patience filming some of these videos takes. I mean, we were getting cooked out in the summer sun. It was like August
Yeah.
in Maine, which, I mean, it's not Florida, but it was still hot. And we were out there just waiting for worms to shoot. They were just firing out. And what was that like? Describe to everybody what it was like to try to film that.
Yeah, you just have moments at a time. Like, even in, I don't even think that's a photo. That might actually just be a screen grab from the video itself.
Could be.
But if it fires out and then it immediately retracts back in, and you have a few of them in front of you, so you're kind of just, you kind of have to like learn the mannerisms of the animal like before it fires out the proboscis, and we kind of learned that like they just like they do a subtle little like wiggle before they fire it out, but it's not.
But the nose goes down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it was pretty subtle. So like having to learn like what that looked like, and then spotting it in a big group of them who might not all be doing that at the same time, and then getting the shot. So it was kind of like a trifecta of things it took to get those shots.
Combined total, we're talking 100 million views on the channel for our Bloodworm content. I know Coyote did a follow-up with some other worms that did 10 million views, something like that.
Yeah, worms are a hot topic.
So you guys want to dive into the comments? See what we got?
Let's do it.
Let's go top comments first. I love the first bite. Wrenching in agony, pulls it off. It didn't break the skin. The fangs are too small. LOL, says Desi. Or Deezy.
Deezy fool.
Looks like something from my childhood nightmares. Enlarge this a little bit so we can all see it better. There we go. I remember watching Coyote Peterson when I was younger. Glad to see how far this channel has come. Thank you, Angeled.
There's someone.
Moonman says, yeah, he got me. What do you see?
Right here. When my late brother-in-law lived in Maine this weekend, this was a weekend job for him. He'd sell packets of bloodworm to fishermen as a side job. So, I mean, it's
pretty cool you guys featured. So that's the Grazy T-Com.
I'd buy that.
And
that's cool.
Totally. We touched on this already.
Yeah.
There's a big industry for these bloodworms. Like you can, and it's year round. So people like Wayne are out there even right now. Right now it's February. I guarantee you Wayne is out this week digging up worms.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he just posted a video of like the salt water in his bucket like freezing as he's going.
They're hardcore.
Yeah.
And they're the best people too. Like you have to have a good sense of humor and just a good demeanor in general to be a wormer. These guys are super fun. Some of my favorite wildlife people to hang out with are bloodworm guys. And Wayne's the best. For anybody who wants to see more bloodworm content and crazy shots and weird stuff, definitely go follow Wayne Bishko. Like he's got some cool videos on his Instagram and TikTok and YouTube channel. Still amazes me how their proboscis can fold out like that. It's super cool to watch. Tuna fishing. Was that you, Andrew?
Tuna fishling.
Fishling. Peter Jackson turned these nightmare creatures in his version of King Kong. That's so true. Aliens up. Yeah, like if you've seen Kong, is it Skull Island or is it a different one?
I think it's just
King Kong.
King Kong from 2005.
So
that's the year it
Jack
came out.
Black.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was the first film after Lord of the Rings that Peter Jackson did.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where Andy Serkis actually is eaten by a bloodworm. It's like a giant version of a bloodworm, but definitely
It's not that far off.
Don't
Yeah.
they also have giant centipedes in that
They do.
film?
They do.
And they're like
Yeah,
really scary.
They fall to the bottom of like
Yeah.
the crevasse, and then it's just like all hell breaks loose.
yeah.
Yeah. Skull Island is sort of a nightmare version of the Brave Wilderness channel. Oh man, I wish I could show you guys that. Probably can't for copyright, but if you haven't seen,
Hey, someone just commented it.
yeah, if you haven't seen Peter Jackson's King Kong, highly recommend. It's probably my favorite post-original version of King Kong.
Poet Comet 1, half dune sandworm, half alien, adorable.
Adorable.
Interesting.
Not sure anybody would ever call a bloodworm adorable, but whatever floats your boat.
I will say they become less gross the more you're with them.
Yeah, you can get used to anything.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you can get used to
I
anything.
never got used to the centipede.
Mm-mm.
Centipede's on its own plane.
Where do you guys think, in terms of gross creatures, the bloodworm ranks? And let's give our top 3 grossest creatures that you've either filmed or you've seen on the channel.
Centipede's number 1 for me.
Yeah. Centipede for sure, number 1. Is it like camel spiders or whatever?
Sulpigid.
Sulpigids,
They're
I think are
weird.
really gross.
Something about those like double jaws.
Yeah.
Let's pull up a picture of a sulpigid for people who haven't. There it is.
Yeah, they're gross. They're mouths.
Look at that.
Hate
thing.
them.
Oh wait, shoot, I messed it up. Look at the mouth. Oof.
Looks like a Steven Spielberg creature, you know? Like,
yeah, the
Those
crazy
jaws
thing
are
it
is,
looks like an
Unreal.
animatronic type thing.
2 crazy facts about this. I still want to do the bite test for this one, so I don't want to give away
No.
everything. But They have 2 sets of jaws, and they actually chase you because when you see them, usually it's at night in the desert, and they're looking for anywhere that has a shadow. And when you're shining with the light, nothing has shadow except for you. So like underneath the flashlight is the first shadow. So usually they're like bolting at you down the wash. And it's very disturbing. The first time you see it, you're like, what the heck is going on? Animals are not supposed to be like charging us at night. So let alone little alien creatures.
Now, how big is this thing?
They range in size. I've seen them about this big.
Mm-hmm.
That's about as big as I've seen. And I've also seen them about this big.
Oh.
We've had like little ones in our house before when we were in Arizona, like at the compound. Yeah, camel spider, definitely there. What else you say?
Centipede so far. I'm trying to, I mean, there's other spiders.
Giant centipede.
Yeah, the giant centipede, not your regular. Honestly, golden orb weavers can be pretty, they're beautiful is the thing. I've come around on them, but like when you first see them and the long spindly legs, they're pretty freaky.
They look like demon spiders when
Yeah.
you first see them. They're so huge.
See,
They seem really dangerous too. Like you'd see that and you'd be like, that's going to hurt me.
violin beetle would take my spot ahead of golden orb weaver, because at least golden orb weavers are like out in like, they're usually like in the sun or like somewhere well exposed, but like the violin beetle is just in like the dankest part of the jungle it can possibly find.
Just nasty, rotten log.
And they actually stink.
Yeah, they spray that
sticky.
acid.
Yeah, so that I think that's my number 2. Or,
They're just kind of cockroaches, like cockroach type creatures don't freak me out that much.
So wait, is your number 1 bloodworms? The grossest?
No, centipede.
So where's bloodworm? Is bloodworms even on your top
It's
3?
not on my list.
Not on your list. What about you?
I think it'd be probably 3 with violin beetle and centipede coming in front of it. Because there's something about like the accessibility of bloodworms. Like you're not going to come across them, and that kind of factors into my score. You know, it's like you would have to be waiting in the tidal flats of Maine at low tide specifically to even come across one.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of like, and it's like they're part of the course for their environment, where like the violin beetle is smelly and is finding the grossest place it could possibly be in anyway.
Yeah. I think I'm realizing I really don't like things with like a lot of legs. The more
Yeah. The
too many
more legs
freak me out.
So there's something that you guys haven't mentioned because it was before your time at Brave, but I think the nastiest creature I've ever filmed is a helgramite.
Oh,
Do you know what a helgramite is?
Right.
A nymph of I think a Dobson fly. I once had to stick my hand in a whole bowl of them.
I remember that.
Helgramite.
Yeah.
Look at these things.
Yeah, those things are gross.
They're just it's hard to explain with these. I'm trying to find the photo that can really do it justice, but they live in like mud and leaf litter and stuff, and their back appendage just sort of disintegrates. So it looks like a corpse insect, like it's rotten at the back. And it's not. It's just how they are.
Are they slimy? It looks kind of like wet.
They do bite. So these jaws here will give you a good pinch. Not venomous, but they stink. They have a musk.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
They're smelly. They're just, yeah. That's definitely up there for me.
The King Kong of aquatic insects.
Bloodworms are probably my 3rd. I wonder what my number 2 would be.
Oh, this is your number 1?
Yeah, number 1. I think bobbit worm would have to be my number 2.
Bobbit worms are super freaky.
Those are
gross.
gross.
I would hate to encounter one of those. I mean, they're really hard to come by. But
when you see what they can do, we're gonna have to do. We're doing a video on the bobbit worm,
Yeah.
so we don't want to give everything away. But when you can see what a bobbit worm can do and can pull down a fish, like softball-sized fish, just imagine what it would do to your leg. And they're just nasty. So that would be my 2 worms are in my top 3. So worms are kind of gross, but the bloodworm has certainly been good to the Brave Wilderness channel over the years, and it has been a fan favorite for sure. Let's go back to the comments, see if we get anything else. Seeing Mark climb to getting bit on camera has been a great journey to watch. Thank you, Dragon Type Trainer. I love how even though he knows the aftermath of what's coming, it's still shocking to see something this alien looking, latching on your skin, and know what they're doing in the process. Take some guts. I give you credit for all that you do for educational purposes. Thank you. Thank you, John Best, 1978. This has to be one of the most horrifying creatures ever to exist, says Bould.
Bould one.
Oh, wow. Look at this. We got a thank you, $10. Thank you,
Nice.
Chang-chicken. Really appreciate that, man or lady.
The way it just explodes looks disgusting, but also pretty cool at the same time. Pooliner.
This legit gives me Vietnam flashbacks to the horrifying scene in Peter Jackson's King Kong, where when Andy Serkis is consumed by alive by a giant version of these absolute monsters. Yeah, man, we were just talking about that.
Can you pull up an image of that worm from King Kong? Just like the picture of it?
Yeah, I should be able to.
Yeah.
We'll do it. We'll blur it if we have to, but hopefully they'll allow.
King Kong worm.
King Kong worm. There it is.
Oh.
Ugh.
Here, just show the there's Andy Serkis getting munched. It's got more jaws.
Yeah.
Got a few more sets. But look at that. That's a proboscis if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. Bloodworm's definitely the origin of that thing, you know?
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
God, they're gross.
Aren't you glad that bloodworms aren't this big?
Yeah, I mean,
What would happen? Like, I think about that all the time. Like, if there's like supersized versions of some of these smaller venomous creatures, how big would a bloodworm have to be considered a super health risk, or people like wouldn't go exploring the mudflats anymore? Like, how big? Because I mean, obviously that big, no
yeah,
one would
so,
go.
I mean,
It'd
they're
be-
like, the thing is, they're somewhat thin. Like, they're maybe just under, like, at the thickest one you'd find would maybe be under an inch, slightly under. If they got to be like 3 or 4
I
inches
think it's like
thick,
a half inch.
Yeah,
You think
it's skinny. Yeah.
Yeah, they're skinny. I'd
They're
say
like-
less than a half inch. So yeah, like 3 or 4
Yeah.
inches thick.
like if it
How
got
long?
around that size,
One this wide would be like multiples
Terrible.
of feet. Yeah.
yeah.
It could take your fingers.
Yeah.
At
Like
that
if it started
size.
to get into that range of like appendages could get cut off, then
Like
I probably
the
wouldn't be going
surface
in the
area of
water.
the bite would be like the size of your palm at that
Yeah.
point. And then if that got somewhere, like it could either take like
yeah, like its
a limb.
fangs would start getting in that range of
Yeah.
being like a half inch. They could just dig into you a half inch deep.
Oh my god.
I feel like that could do some damage.
And
take a
plus,
toe.
at that size, their strike range would be considerable. Like you couldn't get close to it, otherwise it would shoot out its proboscis.
probably be like
which
this
would be,
long.
Yeah, it'd be like close to the gap of like 5 feet at that
Oh
point.
my gosh. Let's just all be happy that bloodworms are relatively small and they don't take revenge on us for using them as fishing bait.
They're very forgiving.
Yeah. All right. Moment of bravery to wrap this up. Let's go around the table. What was your moment of bravery, Andrew?
Ooh, I think just my big moment was trying to just stay calm and not shaky on the macro cam for my first go at filming a sting, because there's an element to shock to it, so you kind of just have to hold your own and be really focused on getting the shot. Otherwise, you have to do it again and again and again.
First video out of the
Yeah.
gate, a banger. How does that make you feel, Asa?
I mean, it's only been down from there. So
Already peaked.
Zing!
my first video I think is manatees, and that's like one of the lowest videos I've ever created. So
You took the traditional arc,
yeah,
building steam, just like this podcast. We're just building steam here. We're getting good at it.
no, I mean it's awesome to have that one go. I feel like that gave Andrew some serious confidence right out of the gate.
And you just know, and you can vouch for this now. Like, we know when we nailed it. When
Yeah.
the video's like, yep, it's got all the ingredients, thumbnail, title, just the way it all played out, the animal shots, all that stuff all comes together. For this video, it came together. Andrew had to trust me, but I remember wrapping up that day, day before the upload hit, and I was like, dude, you freaking crushed it. This is a banger. And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah. Oh, yeah. And sure enough, it was. And, but I don't want to let you off the hook, Asa. Moment of bravery when you first filmed with Bloodworms, not this video, but the second one.
Probably just getting out into. I've never been in mud flats before. You know, I throwing on the slicks and like getting into it. It's a challenging environment to film in for sure, and trying to keep up without knowing like the proper way to walk.
Keeping the camera mud free.
Yeah,
Easier
that was
said
a
than done.
stress point. Yeah, you can, because it's easy to fall in that stuff.
I think there's a
you can-
shot of you picking your way through the mud.
Yeah. I had some Amazon basic like slides that I pulled, and
Oh man,
they were really sticking in there. So yeah, you can see me trudging through in the background.
it's a tough
falling
environment.
behind.
It's
Yeah.
tough. I mean, I can vouch for when I was filming in it. Keeping the lens clean is the hardest part, and then not dumping the camera if you do slip and fall. Instinctively, like just camera
Yeah.
to the sky.
I was ready to like roll onto my back and have it like above me and just be fully in it.
I wonder how long it
Like
would
a
take you to
pig.
sink in
Yeah.
the mud if
Yeah.
you just laid down. Take a long time.
I kind of like the more you get into like getting dirty when filming. I kind of like it. Like I like to
You gotta
like
let go.
get into the elements. Yeah, once you release from being like, oh, I was showered this morning and like came out here and clean, and you allow yourself to be like, all right, now I'm sweaty and muddy and dirty. Like you're gonna be a lot happier. Like the more you fight it, the worse you are off.
Give into the grime. I guess that leaves me. Moment of Bravery was definitely taking on the full bite of the Bloodworm, and I think there was a triumphant moment when I was actually able to head it. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to. Again, I only seen videos of Wayne already I never saw him like grab one. I just assumed how he did it. Luckily it worked. And then that moment of elation just completely flatlined as soon as I realized I have to actually now like totally get chomped by this alien creature. Had the benefit of test biting on my finger, but that alone was nerve-wracking. I was like, how bad is this really going to be? I've heard it's pretty bad. Everybody who worms will say like they've seen people running out of the mud pit screaming before. Every wormer will tell you they've witnessed it. So I didn't know just how bad it was going to be. So, like a lot of the bite sting tests, the moment of bravery is actually the moment I let it bite. And the wrist one was super bad, and having to go in again. I think having to go in again maybe would be the standout moment of bravery, because I had a moment of bravery because I knew how bad it was and I had to do it for the shot. And that's, I hope everybody who appreciated that Bloodworm video just understands how much I love you all. Took it many times for you. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of Becoming Brave. Make sure you guys hit us up in the comments section. Let us know what other videos you'd like to hear more about behind the scenes, other topics. We're going to start diving into some other stuff soon, not just reviewing videos, having guests on, and other happenings in the Brave Wilderness universe. But really do appreciate everybody for listening or watching on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to the Mark Vins channel for more, and we will see you next time.